Okay, you're warmly welcome to this mini-seminar entitled Turning the Global Feminist Policy Space Upside Down, Bringing Women's Voices from Fragile States into the Center. This mini-seminar is organized by LM International, and we are here at the Human Rights Days to bring the voices of African women to the center. We have witnessed that human rights protocols are often originating in the West, and we have also realized over and over again that the most vulnerable affected women of conflict, of sexual violence, of human rights abuse are too often not given space to actually voice themselves and other women. It's rather a lot of often policy professional feminists that gets the privilege to speak. And we really want to change this in LM and in our work around the globe. And here at the Human Rights Days today, we have brought two strong African women who have unique life experience, but also they are here today to bring the voices of other African women with them. So we have with us Ellen Källgren from Ethiopia and Charity Raisin from Kenya. And can we start the conversation by just letting everyone know actually who you are? And before I hand over the word, I just want to say briefly that my name is Josephine and Sandqvist, and I'm the Secretary General of LM International. So Charity, tell us who you are.
Yeah, thank you very much for having me today. And I could say that this is a very, very important platform for me to be in. My name is Charity Raisin. I'm originally from Kenya, and I am an FGM, anti-FGM activist, policy and advocacy specialist on FGM specifically. And I am here representing millions of other girls on this platform today, and those are the girls who are at risk of going through FGM. I am here as their voice, as one who I do have a personal story on FGM that really defined and shaped the decisions and the paths that I've taken as a woman and as a young girl, and I'm here today to amplify our voices in the global stage. So thank you for having me, and I really look forward to having this conversation because it's critical to have it at this particular time.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And next to you, you have Ellen. Ellen, we are curious. Who are you?
Yeah, my name is Ellen Källgren. I'm from Ethiopia. I'm living in Sweden. I am the former journalist, Women's League Vice President, and Women's Counselor at Addis Ababa Affairs Office. Now here in Sweden, I am studying at university and working in different areas. Here I am representing 1,000 billion women that need to be heard. I am here to talk about them. I'm grateful to be here.
Wow.
Yes.
I think we should give these two women an applaud. Whoa. So when we ask ourselves, you know, why do we need to raise African human rights protocol like Maputo Protocol for women's rights? Why is it time for you to take over the stage? What does it really mean to have these voices present here? What does the voices of African women tell us? Charity.
Yeah, thank you for that question. I think it's very, very critical to have the voices of marginalized women right here represented in this stage today. And that is because for a very long time, we've had single stories, and there is a danger to single stories. And this day, I want to bring about the voices of marginalized women, because once we bring them, then we'll have a full story. you know, and that is very important to have a full story, because the dangers of a single story is there are so many stereotypes and perceptions attached to single stories. But now, if we bring on board the voices of marginalized women, we bring about constructive other voices into the center. And these are women who have lived these experiences. These are women who have been who are in poverty, who have faced every form of injustice you can imagine of, who are in this stage that, who are in states that are highly affected by conflicts and wars. And most of these women are the byproducts of the wars, right? And actually, women are being used as strategic, you know, targets for wars, like in rapes and sexual violence. It's very, very, very high in most of these conflict-affected areas. And that is why it's very critical to have their voices, for them to tell their stories, for them to contribute to the organizational programs on how to, you know, to better improve, you know, the organizational programs and projects, and actually have influenced the decision makers and the authorities to, you know, do the projects and use the tools and strategies that work for them. You know what I mean? Because they are the ones who have lived these experiences. And the dangers of a single story is, again, it's not the whole story. It's not the whole story. And it's very important that right now the women that have experienced a lot, you know, for many years, their voices have been demobilized, they have been dismissed, they have been disrespected. It's really high time for their voices to be heard, you know.
And can I ask you, how come that so many anti-FGM programs are designed by people who have not had this lived experience? How come we have not come further?
Yes, and that's why we have not come further. And that's why we have a very, very slow progress in regards to the fight of FGM. As we speak, in Kenya, for example, the fight of FGM started like 30 years or even more than 30 years ago. And right now, as we speak, my own community, we're still in 78% of the women and girls affected by FGM, for example. Why is it so slow? It's because you're not utilizing the right people, you know, in these projects of FGM, for example. They have the solutions to their own problems. Get to them, let them speak up and say what are some of the solutions that they think can be included in these programs to fight against FGM. But the moment that, you know, the policies, the workshops, the talk, you know, it's not doing anything on the ground. That's why we have the slow progress of the fight against FGM, for example. It's because it's not involving the right people. It's the people who are holding the mic are not the people affected by these causes. That's the problem. Give the mic to the people who are affected. Give the platform as this to the people who are affected. Then constructive ideas will be integrated into your own programs to actually end causes like FGM, for example, and bring solutions and have a progressive and more like a sustainable solution to the fight against FGM, for example. So that is why it's critical to, you know, amplify voices of marginalized women in global stages as these.
And you have made this journey from feeling marginalized to feeling empowered, from not having access to a stage, from actually grabbing the mic forcefully.
Yeah, so I did that. I fought so hard to be here. I just want to say it has not been a walk on the park. I fought my whole community to actually have the right to my own body, let alone coming to a stage like this. And that's why I'm telling you today that the voices and the power of marginalized women, we have so much power within us. We are courageous. We are resilient. We fight so hard. You know, you go through hell and back trying to fight cultures and norms that you have grown in, you know. And so once we are empowered, and we get that empowerment through very difficult circumstances, fighting so hard to just elevate our voices, to be heard, to fight for our own bodies, to get to a stage as this, to be listened to. And now I am in a stage where I feel like I am ready, I feel empowered enough to empower others, because that is where we are headed. I cannot, it's not going to be empowered if it is only I. I mean, I'm not liberated if I'm the only one who is liberated. You know what I mean? How about the millions of others in my village?
Wow.
So, yeah, that's how I feel about this, actually.
So, Ellen, when we zoom out and we look into Ethiopia, I mean, many of us have followed many challenges that face women in Ethiopia. But from your perspective, what does the voices of Ethiopian women tell us?
Thank you for asking that question, because I have been longing so many years to say it. Generally, all world women's are amazing, but especially from my experience, I worked with women's rights in Ethiopia. I have been leading 58,000 women in Addis Ababa, and I have been meeting so many amazing, creative, powerful women, but never get the chance to talk. And the challenge, the problem, the obstacle, what I see is like women's right is on the paper, on the news, but not at the ground. I am the leader. By myself, I have been passing so much challenge to be there, to present the women. And the fund comes to my country. It doesn't go the right direction to those women, to empower them. And no one is asking, controlling, and checking. And that's the biggest thing, politicize the women's right, the human right. And so much mothers is dying, so many, but no one is seeing it because no one is going down the grassroots level to check and hear what you have done for those women. I gave you, I support you, where are you? Nothing. So my suggestion is like, Ethiopian women and mothers, they are trying to survive in every situation. If you give them little, they have the power to go long. And that's why we are strong in hard situation. What we need is those women need to talk, need to be here. And any people or organization work with those kind of area, please go down and talk with them. And if you're gonna like form a policy, something, we need to be heard first, not coming from up down to the people. It should be consulted. The suggestions need to come from those who needed the change. So that's a very big problem, what I see.
So when you were the vice president of the Women's League in politics, really mobilizing thousands and thousands of women on the ground, what are some of the greatest barriers, obstacles facing girls and women who wants to engage politically at the local level?
Politics, because you need to be submitted for the powerful government, whatever it is, from my past. You need to be a member. If we mobilize to empower, they need to be a member. They need to be political. And the money is spending on T-shirt, transport, and which is not like life-changing. So those, the human right and the women's right is human right. It doesn't deal with political, religion, or something. It should be any human being can have that right. But it's not like that. The power who have sitting on the chair can decide which resource go to which. And as long as it's gonna empower their power, sustainable power, unless otherwise, which kind of resource gonna go to the women, I doubt. And the reason that I leave also, I move out, is like, it doesn't feel right.
You also have worked as a journalist in Ethiopia, raising power abuse, also corruption, and how resources are not distributed equally to the most vulnerable or women and men. Can you tell us of that experience? It also must have taken you a lot of courage to publish your articles.
It's mostly going to the powerful people. That's the problem. Like, when it comes generally in Africa, corruption is a huge problem. Even the political leaders believe in it. Corruption is in their apartment, in their parliament, there. All money is going. And that's the challenge most governments are facing. And when it comes to work with women's human rights, then that fund goes to individuals. And if you have a meeting, for example, you need to book 5-star hotel, and the money should go somewhere else. But we are having conference 1 week there, and getting allowance or so many things. And the people who representing women's and human rights should be asked. Like hold responsible for what they are doing. Somehow there should be checking, control, and involving the grassroots people down there to put them in the conference to say what they want. And it doesn't be 5-star hotel to talk about human rights. We can go down in the village and talk.
So I hear from both of you that localization, going more local, bringing more voices from communities, from the local scene, is what is really needed. So it's not just about turning and giving African women in general a stronger voice, but it's also shedding the light on rural communities, local communities.
Yes.
You want to comment that? Yeah.
Yes, that is very important, and it is because they are very insightful. It's just that, they're not even given the chance to contribute in forums as that on issues that are affecting them, and so they are insightful. Their contribution, it's insightful, constructive, and once that is brought on board, definitely it changes a lot of things, because then oh, okay, maybe we've been approaching it the wrong way. We can adjust to this. Can we try and see if this works? And then that is where the progress is. And once these communities feel involved, literally, they are willing to work on opening their minds in some things, like for example in FGM. If you put my community right there, if you put my father and the council of elders and the women and the girls, everybody involved, and literally have a discussion with them and give them the mic and tell us what you think about this. What part of this culture should we do away with? How can we approach this to ensure that the cut, that is the circumcision of girls, is left out while keeping the good practices, cultural practices within these communities. But once it's up, down, they feel attacked all the time, and literally they just close up. They close up and they continue. They're like, oh, that is for World Vision. That is for LM, for example.
So you are starting your local community-based organization now in the area in Kenya where you grew up as a child.
Yes.
And what do you expect from that mobilization work? I mean, you are just at the start.
Yes, I can speak about the foundation. That foundation is to honor the girl Resian. My name is Resian, and to honor our journey, because it was a very, 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 very tough fight. And the organization will be about ensuring that no girl, no child will ever fight the fight that I fought myself, and ensuring that we are going to empower those young girls at a very, very young age to know that their voices matter, and to know that they have a right to their own bodies, and to know that they have a place in platforms as these as well, and that they can pave their paths. They don't have to be decided. Nobody has to decide their path, but they can decide that for themselves. And bringing on board, because I cannot do it alone. I need everybody to get involved, because, what affects a young girl in Africa affects you. It doesn't matter how much far you are from that problem. It's still the same young girl, 12-year-old girl, and we have to care for them. And there's no way the world will move forward when half of us are left behind. So that is why I'm taking on this mission, actually.
Wow.
Yeah.
So for the audience here today at Human Rights Days, or viewing us digitally, that wants to engage more in African protocols such as the Protocol of Maputo for women's rights, or to give more space to African women from fragile countries and contexts and states, what would be your recommendations, Ellen? How do we move forward? To all the audience here, what can they do to flip the coin?
Yeah, I just said everybody who work around this have the power to do the change, to open the door, to light up the darkness for my country women. If you go into Ethiopia and working, any organization, NGO, politics, please ask them to bring the local women and listen to her and give her what she wants. Not just making it news or doing it on the paper. The grassroots level, the people who are living on the earth, there, down, that's the people who are gonna be real, not politically like propaganda or something. So I want them to hold the government accountable, and to see the real people in physical and talk to them, not like going down Bole, then live in some international hotel and come back and making it. Don't do it. It doesn't change one step for my women that is suffering and dying every day. Why don't we change? In so many years, there is no change. I'm thankful the trial endured, but I want women to survive. Still, we are at the list with women's rights, human rights, when we are saying our people are Democrat and getting Nobel Prize at, yeah. But where is the mother is dying? Because it's like politicized over the top. Go down and make accountability and invest on the people that are real. They are living.
And you, Ellen, you are today living here in Sweden, and there are also these powerful voices here in Sweden. What could the participants in the seminar do to also change things, not only when they go to do work in Ethiopia, but here in Sweden or within EU? Sweden will hold the presidency for EU in the upcoming spring. What changes do you think you want to see also here?
They can lift up the issue, because this is like, if we can blind, like close our eyes, yes, we can't see. But this is a fact everybody can see if they want to see. So I want to lift up these voices without compromising it and say, like, demand, if I work with you, this is what. To lift up the woman's, my voice, for example, I am begging you to lift up the woman's voice that's suffering from the situation. Not like having not that life, but dreaming to change without meeting the real experience.
What do you think, Charity, in brief, to the audience, if we are to move forward, what needs to be done in Sweden to give more power and voice to affected women and African women?
Yeah, I think societies as Sweden, for example, and any institutional leadership and authorities that are right here, I could challenge you to utilize your privilege and actually speak for the voices of African women. Just do that. Do that because you have the power to actually give me, what do you call this?
The mic.
The mic. Literally to tell you how impactful this is and how impactful it is, not only for me, but for the million of women and girls' voices that I'm representing today. I mean, give the mic to the women that have lived these experiences. Let them tell you what are their thoughts. Let them share their ideas and their perception.
Yeah,
Okay, my
perceptions
English.
or perspective.
Yeah, let them share that. Let them give you the tools and the strategies that they think can be used to tackle their own problems, because we have the solutions to our own problems. Give them that power. Give them that, because for real, I'm just saying this, we're really tired of having our stories being used, you know, in a way that is not very right. We're really tired of that. And that's why we need that mic to tell everybody that we are able to actually tackle our own issues. Give us that mic. Give us those platforms. Give us those funds. Involve us in those programs and your projects, and we will solve our own issues as well. And we have the power to do that.
Wow. Wow. I want to thank you, Charity and Ellen, for grabbing the mic, for speaking on millions and thousands of other women, for also challenging us today to actually utilize our platforms. we can change. We can turn the feminist policy debate upside down to give more room also for African legal frameworks and give new voices space, but also to work towards localization of development cooperation and aid and human rights, to see that local communities are given greater consideration. And for those of you who have participated today, we will also organize another event here at the Human Rights Days this afternoon, From Protocol to Power, to dig a little bit more deeper into the Maputo Protocol for women's rights. And I want to thank you all for contributing. And I want to end with a last word. If you just say one word that we should all bring with us from today.
Yeah, I'm so thankful that you're part of this conversation, and I hope that you go home, or you go to your organization knowing that you have the power to actually impact our communities. And now you know how to do that. Please do that and do it the right way. And thank you so much, Josephine, for this mic.
I am honored to be here. Thank you so much. At the same time, use your chance, opportunity, and power to do the right thing, which is real, not just news or on paper. Thank you.
Wow. A big applause to Ellen and Charity. And let's continue the conversation here at the Human Rights Days.
Thank you.
Wow. Now, the next is coming on stage.